Today's question is whether or not Yale Law School can punish a law student for exercising their freedom of speech. Stick around and I'll give you my color of law. A Yale law student has sent a lighthearted email inviting classmates to his trap house. The school is now calling him to account. Administrators at Yale Law School have spent weeks pressuring a student to apologize for a triggering email in which he referred to his own apartment as a trap house, a slang term for where people buy drugs, as we know and learned from Nate Brody's. Part of what makes this email triggering, apparently, is that the student has a membership in a conservative organization. So let's learn a little bit more about our protagonist. This second-year law student is a member of the Native American Law Students Association and the Conservative Federalist Society. So he's a Native American and he's a conservative, which I'm sure has some people already scratching their head at Yale. And he invited classmates to an event that will be co-hosted by these two groups. We'll be christening our very own, soon-to-be world-renowned National Native American Law Student Association Trap House by throwing a Constitutional Day bash in collaboration with the Federal Society. He wrote this on September 15th to the Native American listserv. In keeping with the theme, he said the mixer would serve American-themed snacks like Popeye's chicken and apple pie. So, our Native American law student is off to a promising start. He has apparently got a new apartment, and he's part of the Native American Association at school. And so he sends off, he's christening a trap house. That will be his house. So he's calling his own house a drug den, which is kind of hilarious. And he said, we're going to have a trap house, and keeping with the Constitutional Day theme, which apparently is when we'll be holding this on Constitution Day, we're going to serve American snacks like Popeye's chicken and apple pie. Now, I assume you see the direction where this is going already, right? Trap house, drugs, Popeye's chicken, apple pie. We know where this is going immediately. Way to go, Yale Law School. Let's read on. The student who has requested anonymity is part Cherokee, who was part of the Indian tribe famously displaced during the Trail of Tears, which is not one of America's better moments. Within minutes of this email, this lighthearted invite had been screenshotted and shared to an online forum for all second-year students, several of whom alleged that this indicated a blackface party. So at this point, it might be helpful to see the infamous email in its full context. So here is the full email in its full original context. Sup, Native American Law Student Association. Hope you're all still feeling social. This Friday at 7:30, we'll be christening our very own, soon-to-be, world-renowned NALSA Trap House by throwing a Constitution Day bash in collaboration with the Federal Society. Planned attractions include Popeye's chicken, basic bitch American-themed snacks like apple pie, etc., a cocktail station, assorted hard and soft beverages, and most importantly, the opportunity to attend an NALSA Trap House inaugural mixer. Hope to see you all there. This is a pretty funny email. It is a funny email with funny jokes, but some people on the left don't like jokes. What a surprise. The Black Law Students Association has some words they'd like to share. I guess celebrating whiteness wasn't enough. He's not white, remember, he's Native American. Y'all had to upgrade to cosplay blackface. No. They also objected to the Mixers association with the Federal Society, which they said have historically supported anti-black rhetoric. Apparently, trap house is a term used in progressive pop culture since at least 2016, and it does seem to go earlier than that, incidentally, when a socialist podcast, Chapo Trap House, burst onto the scene. So I might have pre-existed that, but this is when they think it became famous. This podcast, which was hosted by 3 white men, have received sympathetic profiles in various newspapers, none of which suggested that there was anything racial about the name. Once associated with inner crack dens, trap house has also become a generic slang for any place where young people can score beer. So apparently, trap houses are not only places where you can score drugs, they're places where you can score beer, which I suppose is a kind of drug. Just 12 hours after this email went out from the Black Law Student Association, the student was summoned to the law school's Office of Student Affairs, where they said they had received 9 discriminatory and harassment complaints about the message. Okay, so let's discuss, first of all, that Yale law students are apparently weak. Yale Law School is the best law school in the country. It's ranked number 1, and deservedly so. It's at the very top, no matter how you measure these things. So the people who get into Yale normally are thought of as the best of the best. Yale Law School is a pretty good moniker to have. But these people are apparently super, super soft, because this email, which basically invited everyone to come, is discriminatory, and they can't tolerate it. So apparently 9 of these students have sent off emails saying that they're being harassed and discriminated against. Way to go, Yale Law students. You're really showing how tough you are, Lord. At a September 16th meeting in which students recorded and shared, the Associate Dean and Diversity Director, Yassine Eldick, told those students the word trap constitutes crack use, hip-hop, and blackface. These triggering associations, the diversity director said, were compounded by fried chicken reference, which is also used to undermine arguments that structural and systemic racism have contributed to racial health disparities in the United States. That's a lot of weight to put on fried chicken. Not only is it a racial reference, it's a very specific racial reference to undermine arguments about racial health. Okay, Eldick, who is the current social diversity director and a former White House official, has gone on to say that the membership in Federalist Society has triggered the peers. The emails associated with Federalist Society are very triggering for students who already feel like Federalist Society belongs to political affiliations that are oppressive to certain communities. That, of course, includes the LGBTQIA community and Black communities and immigrant communities, but not the Native American communities, one will take note. So the Federalist Society, which is, old as dirt, co-founded by Scalia many, many moons ago, I believe when he was at law school. But anyways, the Federalist Society, which is older than dirt, is apparently now a super, super bad organization to belong in. I think the Federalist Society is at every single law school in the United States. I couldn't say for sure, but it would surprise me if they're not. The Federalist Society is a big organization. Big. It might be the biggest student law affiliation organization in the country. You could have a debate, but it's up there. I mean, other than like the ABA, maybe. For sort of non-official ones, yeah, the Federalist Society is pretty big. It might actually be bigger than the ABA. We'd have to take numbers. But anyway, apparently this super, super big Federalist Society is no longer okay, even though they've existed at all schools. Turning back to our student protagonists, throughout the meeting and subsequent conversations, Eldick and Cosgrove hinted repeatedly the student might face consequences if they didn't apologize, including trouble with the bar exam's character and fitness evaluation, to which Cosgrove could weigh in as an associate dean. So apparently the deans of the law school and the dean of diversity are insinuating that if he doesn't apologize, they're going to rat him out to character and fitness, which is a kind of a big deal. Cosgrove apparently warned that things would escalate without an apology. I'm worried about this leaning over your reputation as a person, not just here but when you leave. The legal community is a small one. It certainly can be a small one. So, fair point. The best way for this apparently to go away would be to formally apologize to the Black Law Student Association. You're a law student and there's a bar you have to take, apparently said during a follow-up meeting. So we think it's really important to give you a 360 view. The student resisted, saying that they preferred to have a face-to-face discussion with anyone offended. But Eldick, the diversity director, nonetheless drafted an apology for the student to send in service of a character-based rehabilitation. The supposed apology, which was written by the diversity director, would include an apology for any harm, trauma, or upset the email caused, and stated, quote, "I know I must learn more and grow, and I will actively educate myself so I can do better." This is such the typical, sorry email for these things these days. But the student, being a strong student and not being a pansy at Yale, declined to send the note, instead telling his students in an online forum he welcomed conversations with anyone offended by his choice of words. So rather than capitulate to the mob, even in the form of the dean of the law school and in the form of the dean of diversity, right? So kind of some pressure here. Our law student friend protagonist says, no, I'm not going to apologize, but I will make myself available to talk with anyone who was offended in case they want to talk with me in person. It's like, yeah, so he's He's trumpeting the cause, man. This guy has backbone I'm not sure I even would have. So, props to him. It's great. Apparently, dubious discrimination complaints are nothing new at Yale. In February, a group of affinity students accused the Yale Law Journal, and being on Law Journal or Law Review is a pretty big deal. Apparently, they accused them of systemically excluding black students from the masthead. That would be people who are running the Law Review. While the publication reviewed its data, it turned out black students were admitted at a rate of 61%. So all the black applicants who applied to be part of Law Review, 61% of them were accepted, a far higher rate than any other race or ethnicity. So not so much on the black students being excluded as them being included more by percentage than any other race. Discrimination and harassment have taken on wider meanings. Anti-discrimination offices have a large mandate enforcing not just equal opportunity, but a progressive ideology. At least one complainant alleged the email was a form of discrimination because the harassment claims how psychically harmful it could be. When the student suggested letting his peers reach out to him individually to discuss their feelings, the diversity director responded, "I don't want to make our office look like an ineffectual source of revolution." The dean and the diversity director assured the student they did not put anything in the file. "We never get out our letterhead and write anything to the bar about you. You might have been confused." I'm sure he would. And then Yale releases a statement saying that no student is investigated or sanctioned for protected speech at the law school, which I don't believe for even 1 second. Let's give you my color of law. So my color of law for Yale Law School is a red what? Yale Law School is probably the most prominent law school in the country. They have an unbelievably high rate of being accepted into federal judiciary and other prominent positions. They have a reputation for getting nice, prominent placements, and they have some of the best faculty at the world. So getting into Yale Law School is really, really hard. But apparently the law school, which is one of the best law schools in the country, doesn't understand freedom of speech, including from its own students. So this student who said nothing offensive was basically ordered to capitulate, and then when he didn't, Yale had to backtrack. So pretty hilarious. Yale Law School needs to, understand that freedom of speech is a thing that exists. So apparently renew those constitutional investigations, and that brings us to the end of the discussion of this case. Thank you so much for being part of the Uncivil Law family. If you liked this latest video, please give it a like below and hit the join button. For 99 cents a month, you too can give a recurring membership that helps this channel grow and helps YouTube to recommend this channel to others. We really appreciate your continued financial support and all your love. And until later, my friends, cheers and goodbye.